Seriously, what is this? She can't even make a decent meal.
The voice of the mother-in-law echoes in the kitchen.
Hey, that's way out of line.
Talking back is pointless.
Don't you dare talk back to your mother-in-law.
Even with a husband who defends his mother, there's no one on the wife's side. I wanted to end this life, but I had given up on thinking about it. My name is Alicia. I'm 32 and work as a nurse at a local hospital. Married for 5 years now. We want kids, but it's just not happening when we want it to. Working at a general hospital means night shifts, and I'm feeling my age. Should I change jobs? I've been thinking about it a lot lately. There are other nursing jobs. I don't have to work at this busy hospital. A colleague who quit when she got married is now working reception at a clinic near her home. I'm so jealous. I never really considered quitting or changing jobs when I first got married. My husband, Dustin, wanted me to focus on housework, but I was stubborn. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to go back to work if I quit. Now, all my close colleagues are on maternity or parental leave, and I'm left to pick up the slack. Before I knew it, I've climbed the ranks to become second in command. It's fulfilling to be trusted with hospital-wide responsibilities. But there's a biological clock ticking. Shouldn't we think about having kids? I once suggested this to Dustin, but he brushed it off. Sure, when the mood strikes. Dustin and I are the same age. We met at a party when we were 25. He was always considerate, a real gentleman. He works at a major ad agency, so he's always well-groomed and has a lovely smile. I fell for him instantly, and we started dating after a few dinners. Everything was smooth sailing until we got married 2 years later. Now, he's gained weight and rarely smiles. We both have our flaws, but are we really a couple if we're just sharing a bed? We hardly have time for meaningful conversations. The only way out of this rut is to have a child. That's what I've been secretly thinking. Recently, another issue has come up. Mother-in-law moved in. And we never even agreed to it. It started about 3 months ago when my father-in-law passed away from a long-term illness. Mother-in-law, who lived just a 5-minute drive away, started visiting us more often. That's all there is to sympathy. That would have been fine, but her visits became longer and more frequent. One day, I came home exhausted to find mother-in-law in the house. She had made a copy of our key. Eventually, she pretty much moved in. Later, I found out her house had been sold. There was no going back.
Mother-in-law, this apartment is meant for 2 people. We can't just have you move in.
I tried to choose my words carefully, but it was in vain.
How awful. You want to kick out an old lady? I heard from Dusty Bear that you have an extra room, so I'm doing you a favor by living here. I'm your husband's mother, so just be respectful and deal with it.
She talks down to me like this. We've never had a good relationship to begin with. Living together has only deepened the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflict. And Dusty Bear? Really? It feels weird to have a nickname for a man in his 30s. What's worse, Dustin calls her mama when she's around, which gives me the chills. I suspected he was a mama's boy when we were dating, but seeing it in action is a bit much. I've heard that how a man treats his mother is a good indicator of how he'll treat his wife. I used to find Dustin's kindness towards his mom endearing. But now, it seems like all of his kindness is directed at her, not me. I've tried to talk to Dustin about the living situation multiple times.
Dustin, we never agreed to this. Can you please talk to your mom?
She's lonely since Dad passed away.
She lived nearby anyway, so it's not a big change, right?
He always brushes me off like my feelings don't matter. Living together is way more stressful than living nearby. I'd even be okay if she rented the apartment next door, but sharing a two-bedroom is unbearable. I wish we could move to a place where we don't have to see each other all the time. Both Dustin and I have full-time jobs, so it's not like we're strapped for cash. We just haven't found the time to move. Hey, why don't we look at some new places on our next day off? Let's move somewhere bigger.
You're the one who said we should save for when we have kids, remember? Stop changing your mind. Besides, I'm fine with this living arrangement. Aren't you benefiting from Mom helping out around the house?
You're fine because she's your mom. I wanted to scream, but what's the point? In the end, we've gotten nowhere, whether it's about moving out or living together. Today, I came home from work to more demands from mother-in-law.
There's a Halloween tea party at Glenda's house next Tuesday. Can you prepare some treats? Next week? My shifts won't allow me to go shopping. Could you buy the ingredients yourself?
I declined as I looked at my work schedule for the week. She has both the time and money, so why make such a request? Mother-in-law smirked and said,
"Store-bought treats would be embarrassing. Homemade is the way to go. That way, we won't have duplicates."
Oh, you mean the ingredients? What are you planning to make?
My schedule won't allow me to go shopping.
Before I could finish, mother-in-law cut me off.
Oh, you're so clueless. Obviously, you're the one who's going to make them. You're so useless.
And there it was, another verbal jab.
I can't do it. I don't even have time to go shopping, let alone bake treats. Please do it yourself.
I tried to make my point, but mother-in-law wasn't listening. It's obvious who's more suited for this task between a full-time nurse and a retiree with plenty of time and energy. Still, mother-in-law persisted.
Pumpkin cupcakes are easy. Just make the packaging Halloween themed. If you cut into your sleep, you'll have time. Forget, and you'll regret it.
She left me with those ominous words and retreated to one of the two bedrooms. Why do I have to do this? I was already tired from work, and this conversation just drained me even more. Does she not understand how crucial sleep is for a nurse who's in a physically demanding job? I felt a bit relieved imagining mother-in-law showing up empty-handed. But I couldn't ignore her. Last time I didn't meet her demands, she spread rumors that I was cheating on my husband. Clearing up that misunderstanding with the neighbors was a hassle. Then Tuesday came. I sacrificed 3 precious hours of sleep last night to bake pumpkin-flavored cupcakes. They looked cute in Halloween packaging. Surely, mother-in-law would be satisfied. But when she saw them, she said, "What's this? You made these?
Wow, you're talented at wasting ingredients and money."
I thought I misheard, but her words were clearly directed at me and my cupcakes.
I made them just like you said. What's wrong with them? And it's really unfair to criticize me after making me do this.
Before I could finish, mother-in-law showed me a bag. Wrapped in department store paper. I instantly knew. She never intended to bring my treats. She just wanted to make me do the work. Rage boiled inside me. I was the fool for actually making them. I'm done being mother-in-law's puppet.
What's in that bag, mother-in-law? You made me bake, and then you went shopping yourself? Why are you always so cruel?
Oh, did I say that?
Just throw those trashy, uninspired cupcakes away. I can't bring them to the neighborhood tea party.
I wanted to scream at this infuriating woman, but held back and started preparing for work. I barely slept less than 3 hours last night. I need to find a way to end this living situation and never see mother-in-law again. Why is Dustin okay with me suffering like this? Tears of frustration filled my eyes as I headed to work. 2 months have passed since that incident, and today is New Year's Eve. We've managed to avoid any major fights, but that doesn't mean I've accepted this living arrangement. I've minimized conversations with mother-in-law to keep my irritation at bay. The hospital is busy during the cold season. It might not seem like much compared to doctors, but with increased appointments for vaccinations, this is the busiest time of the year. We're swamped, covering for the doctors. 5 years into our marriage, we didn't do anything special for Christmas. How could we, with mother-in-law living with us? I just focused on getting through the hectic holiday season. I had thought about going on a trip for the New Year's holiday, but Dustin wasn't interested.
Let's just relax at home during the long holiday. Why don't you take a break too, Alicia?
Just then, mother-in-law walked into the room, her eyes lighting up.
It's New Year's Eve today. You've prepared a special breakfast, right? You wouldn't skip that, would you?
Both Dustin and I were taken aback. We usually went to his parents' house to make a special breakfast together. When I asked a month ago if we were doing it at our place this year, mother-in-law had said,
I'll make it myself this year. There's less to prepare since your father passed away.
Looks like we've been duped again. Dustin, who should have heard that conversation, said,
Mama, we can relax this year. Alicia, better start cooking, or we'll have nothing to eat.
What irresponsibility.
Wait! Mother-in-law said she'd make it, but do we even have the ingredients?
Both of them played dumb. If only mother-in-law, who usually takes the lead in making the special breakfast, would help. Of all times, she brings this up on New Year's Eve when stores close early. I rushed to 3 different supermarkets. Even 24-hour stores were running low on supplies because of last-minute shoppers. Dustin and mother-in-law were happily watching year-end specials in the living room. While I was cooking, Dustin asked,
What about seafood dishes?
I checked the time. New Year's was just an hour away. With pots on the stove filled with meat and beans, takeout was the only option.
Sorry, I'm swamped. Can you go get some takeout seafood?
Dustin, who had no intention of going out, left reluctantly. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't bring back anything for me. And why does he want seafood this year? We never focused on it before. As expected, Dustin returned with seafood for just the 2 of them. Here I am, making sure we have something to eat. And he's blatantly setting plates for the living room. He didn't even offer to help, knowing I was struggling to make everything myself. Making a special breakfast takes a lot of time and effort. I was able to do that by preparing it in advance, and I was really tired of making it in a hurry. By the time I took a breather, dawn was breaking. Another all-nighter. But the dishes looked pretty good. Finally done. Now there shouldn't be any complaints. With that thought, I headed to the bedroom. The next morning, or rather, just 2 hours after I'd collapsed into bed, I was awakened by noise in the kitchen. Mother-in-law and Dustin, who had gotten a good night's sleep, were probably ready for their special breakfast. Then Dustin came in and said something unbelievable.
We're going out. You're probably tired, Alicia, so you'll stay home, right? Or do you want to go out for brunch?
What? Brunch? My brain is already foggy from lack of sleep, and now it's filled with even more questions. I asked in disbelief.
Wait, you want to go out for brunch? Right now? But I made a special breakfast, so we don't need to eat out, right? Well, yeah, but...
I'm annoyed by Dustin's vague response and head to the kitchen. To my horror, my mother-in-law is about to throw away the food I stayed up all night to make.
Hey! What are you doing? This trash is inedible.
I thought I'd do you a favor and throw it away. Starting the new year with this? No way. I managed to snatch the food from her, but in the process, some vegetables fall to the floor. Why is this happening to me? As I'm picking up the fallen vegetables, tears start to roll down my cheeks. Dustin, seeing all this, puts on his jacket without offering any help.
All right, let's just go have brunch by ourselves, Alicia. Take care of the rest.
And just like that, they leave to enjoy their brunch. This can't go on. If we have a child, I can't raise it with Dustin. After cleaning the floor, I decide to eat the special breakfast I made. It's not bad, if I do say so myself. Sure, it might not be as good as the special breakfast my mother-in-law makes every year, but considering I made it in a hurry, it's decent both in taste and appearance. As I'm eating, the intercom rings. Who could it be this early in the new year? When I go to the door, I'm shocked and decide it's time for revenge. 3 days later, I'm packing up my things at home. All right, this is the last box. All that's left is to talk to my mother-in-law when she gets back. Just as I'm thinking this, she storms in.
You've embarrassed me. What are you going to do about it?
She yells at me.
What's all the fuss? I haven't done anything.
I reply calmly, and she turns red.
The neighbors are laughing at me. They're asking if I'm bullying my son's wife. They heard about the special breakfast. Clear up this misunderstanding right now. I didn't spread any rumors, but isn't it all true?
It seems the gossip-loving neighbors have spread the word about the New Year's meal.
And what about Halloween? They think I wasted the treats you made. Now no one will invite me for tea.
The person who visited me, left alone on New Year's Day, was Eliza, a leader in the neighborhood. I was surprised to see her at the door since we usually only exchange greetings. Eliza seemed to have noticed that I wasn't getting along with my mother-in-law. She was concerned after seeing my mother-in-law and Dustin go out together after the countdown party.
It must be tough with your mother-in-law moving in, huh? She's been telling everyone that you and her son suggested living together. But everyone knows Crystal is just a neighbor and you're still young. They know something's off.
Crystal is my mother-in-law. Eliza's words lift my spirits a bit. I had no idea my intrusive mother-in-law was saying such things outside the house. Eliza had asked me if I had any other interesting stories, so I told her about the special breakfast and the Halloween incident. It seems my mother-in-law's monstrous behavior is the talk of the town, and I couldn't be happier.
She brought it all on herself. If she keeps complaining, worse things will happen to her. What do you mean worse? I've lived in this neighborhood for years. You won't be able to walk outside if you cross me.
My mother-in-law retorts, mimicking my tone. Then, suddenly, the home phone rings. I answer it and quickly hand it over to her. Her face turns pale.
What? The neighbors are watching a live stream of this room right now? What's going on?
I show her my mobile phone, which is on the TV stand. I had been live streaming her bullying tactics, using a method Eliza taught me.
What is this?
She tries to snatch the phone from me, but I explain that the footage is already live streamed. About 20 people are watching since it's a holiday. Realizing that breaking the phone won't help, she falls to her knees and begs me to stop the stream.
I was wrong. I've done terrible things. Please stop the stream. We won't be able to live here if people see this.
Ignoring her tearful pleas, I respond.
The one who won't be able to live here is you, not me. I'm staying.
She's furious but seems to realize that she can't walk outside anymore now that her bullying has been exposed. Her face turns blue as she begs for help.
Then let's all move far away. Don't abandon me.
You're really clueless.
Dustin and I are getting a divorce.
You're a stranger now. Please leave within a week. I place a packed box in front of her.
It's trash to me, but I've packed it for you.
Yes, the stuff I was packing was for my mother-in-law and Dustin. I had already discussed divorce with Dustin last night and had him fill out the paperwork. I thought he would put up more of a fight, but he agreed easily. I found him an apartment closer to his work, so there was no fuss. Maybe he thought he didn't have to do housework because his mom was around. From what I've heard through the neighborhood network, Dustin and his mom, who moved to the next town, are having a lot of issues. She's causing a scene at his workplace, demanding to be shown around because she's his mother. This has led to rumors about them being a weird mother-son duo, affecting Dustin's chances of promotion and causing him public and private humiliation. I can't believe that something like this happened to my former in-laws without me even knowing about it. I'm grateful to the neighbors who helped me, and hope to help others who are being bullied by their in-laws someday.
Harold was left jobless when his company folded.
Desperate, he pleaded with his uncle and managed to get a position at his uncle's company. A year later, I received a photo and a message on my mobile phone from Harold's mistress.
I'm Harold's lover. Can't wait to live together.
Ignoring the message, I came home from work the next day to find most of the furniture gone. A note left on the kitchen counter was penned in Harold's handwriting.
I moved to Natalie's place.
I called Harold.
Where are you? Maybe I should hire you?
The sugary voice likely belonged to Natalie.
If you're okay being a housekeeper, I'll give you the address.
Natalie seemed to be under a major misunderstanding.
Then, it's divorce with Harold, who only earns $8 an hour. If you want to talk in your sleep.
Ah, she knows nothing. Poor thing. I told her I'd contact her once the divorce preparations were complete, then hung up. Just you watch. Soon, I'll plunge you from the height of happiness to the depths of despair. I am Michelle, a 50-year-old working mother. I work for the company run by my uncle. I met Harold, my husband of 20 years, at a gathering among friends. He seemed like a great guy, and after he approached me as we were leaving, we started dating after meeting a few times. Harold had lost his dad in middle school, but his stepmother Isabella came from a wealthy family. After graduating from a prestigious university and working for a major corporation, he always seemed to have financial and emotional leeway, which showed in his attitude. Thanks to this, Harold was always attentive to me. On anniversaries, he'd go all out with presents, luxurious dinners, hotels with beautiful night views, and even bouquets of flowers. Treated like a princess, I was over the moon. When we decided to get married, I was thrilled, thinking I could build a happy home with him. Little did I know, I'd regret it so soon. Since middle school, Isabella had lived alone with Harold, so it was easy to imagine she'd interfere in our marriage. However, Isabella, living in the next town, never visited our apartment and didn't rush us to visit her in-laws' home either.
She seems busy with theater, traveling with friends, or concerts, I was told.
Hearing this, I felt relieved. Soon after, I became pregnant, and both Isabella and Harold were more delighted than I, savoring the happiness. But it was around this time that dark clouds began to loom over our marriage. Harold started going out on weekends. Despite my being weak from morning sickness, he'd casually go skiing, camping, or traveling, making me question his sensitivity.
Getting married and then leaving the house empty every weekend is just strange.
When I complained, Harold cocked his head.
It's impossible to take a pregnant wife with me. Oh. Then, should I invite people over? Maybe around 5 or 6 each week.
Harold's face lit up with excitement.
Wouldn't that be fun for you, too? For a barbecue, everyone could bring some vegetables or meat. It would surely take your mind off things.
I was dumbfounded. He knows I can't eat because of the nausea, and he says this?
That's obviously not going to work.
I shouted, and Harold frowned in displeasure.
What's wrong with going out and having fun with my own money on weekends? I'm not saying don't go, but you're not single anymore. I just wish you'd be more considerate.
Harold looked even more disgusted.
You should be the one more considerate. What? I'm providing a comfortable life thanks to me, and you're not grateful enough. I'm working for both of us, so you should be more devoted. You're the wife, after all.
With those arrogant words, he grabbed his suitcase and left the house. As the sound of the car engine faded, I slumped into the sofa, feeling gloomy. I could understand where Harold was coming from. But leaving a pregnant wife alone, spending weekdays drinking late with colleagues, and weekends playing with single friends every week, is questionable. He hasn't shaken off his bachelor mindset. Would becoming a father next year bring some sense of responsibility? I had no choice but to believe he would change. Eventually, a boy was safely born. The child we named Cody was growing well. Please don't come to the maternity hospital, Harold had asked Isabella, so I was grateful for the quiet time in the room. However, the backlash was tremendous. After being discharged, Isabella, along with friends, repeatedly barged into my apartment. The first time was just after I had finally managed to put Cody to sleep. The moment I sat down on the sofa to rest, the intercom rang loudly, making my heart jump. Checking the monitor, there was Isabella and several older women. Reluctantly unlocking the door, Isabella and her friends made a grand entrance, stormed into the living room, and dashed for the crib they found.
Oh, how cute! Right? He looks just like Harold.
Really? Do you think so?
You just love Harold too much, that's why you think so. Oh, he's opening his eyes.
Cody, sleepy and dazed, quickly twisted his face and started crying loudly.
Michelle, hurry and soothe him. It's cruel to let him cry so much. And make some tea. I'd like some herbal tea and snacks, please.
While holding back my irritation, I picked up Cody to soothe him. Isabella and her friends surrounded me, poking Cody's cheeks and stroking his head as if he were a pet.
It's nice, isn't it? I want a grandchild soon too. We have 2 girls. I keep telling my daughter-in-law we need a boy next.
Listening to their conversation, Isabella looked smug. Like a storm, Isabella and her friends came, chatted beside me soothing Cody, made a mess with snacks, and left. When I complained to Harold after he returned from work, he strangely smiled. Mom wanted to show off her grandson to her friends. It's cute what she did. I recoiled in shock.
Listen, I'm only 3 days post-discharge. I'm in a daze, nursing every 2 hours, and managing the household.
His indifferent response irritated me.
It took another 2 hours to put Cody back to sleep. Please, no more unannounced visits. Tell Isabella.
At my plea, Harold visibly grimaced.
Mom and her friends came all this way to celebrate. Instead of being grateful, why complain?
Feeling utterly frustrated with Harold's lack of understanding. I wished I had given birth back at my parents' home, even if it meant hours by plane and train. My parents live with my brother and his wife, who have young kids, so I hesitated to return home.
Harold, you're not involved in childcare at all. You don't understand. Can't you look after Cody once in a while?
I pleaded earnestly.
Maybe just for an hour on the weekend? I'd like to visit the salon or relax at a cafe for a bit. So, you want to skip mom's duties?
Harold laughed derisively.
Every mom raises her kids alone. If you can't, you're a failure as a mom.
That's cruel.
Don't say that. It's the truth.
He glared at me, speaking bluntly.
Can't believe you'd ask to waste my precious weekend. I'm the one providing for you. Isn't that enough? If you want to be pampered, go back to your parents' house. And don't come back.
Throwing those cold words at me, Harold walked away to the bathroom. Left alone in the room, I wiped my eyes, and Cody, sensing my mood, started to fuss. Holding Cody, I felt a deep sense of despair. He used to be so kind, how could he change so much? Or was this his true nature all along? Eventually, I began to think, in a way, Isabella might be better than Harold. She showed interest in Cody, entertained him with toys, and talked to him. Harold, strangely, showed little interest in Cody. Only after much insistence did he start taking showers with Cody on weekends, but he refused to do any other caregiving. Even in the same room, Harold was engrossed in his mobile phone games, brushing Cody away irritably when he crawled up. Whether Cody laughed in his adorable voice or babbled in baby talk, Harold remained indifferent. Could such a person ever become a dad-like figure? Just starting on this journey of parenthood, I felt overwhelmed by anxiety. Isabella continued to bring different friends over, but once Cody turned 3 and began to express his own opinions, showing signs of independence, she stopped visiting altogether. It seemed Cody's cuteness had diminished for her. After enjoying a brief period of peace, I approached Harold about starting work.
I want to start working soon. There seems to be a spot available at the nearby daycare. Why? My salary should be enough for us to get by.
Harold responded, visibly displeased.
A wife should stay at home and take care of me and the child.
I almost laughed at his outdated views, but I humbly pleaded with him.
I want to save up for Cody's college fund. Can I work part-time, please? Fine, but don't let the housework slide. I plan to work at my uncle's company.
Harold smirked.
Oh, a nepotism hire, huh? They need a female office worker.
So, they say.
Well, work hard at that tiny company that might go under at any moment.
His mocking tone annoyed me, and I bit my lip.
Your company does business with them, you know.
Ha!
Well, tell them not to cause any trouble for us.
His arrogance, despite being just an assistant manager, infuriated me. I decided then that I would work hard, save up, and divorce this man. With that secret hope, I worked diligently. As Cody grew and balancing work and home became manageable, I switched to a full-time position and worked even harder. One evening, Harold came home looking downcast.
Welcome back. What's wrong? Our company is going under.
What?
Bankrupt.
Rushing to check my phone, I saw articles about Harold's company. Harold looked awkwardly at the floor, a sight I hadn't expected. I'd heard about the poor performance, but I never imagined it would collapse.
What will we do?
Guess I'll have to find a job at another company, he said dismissively, dropping his commuter bag to the floor. Panic set in. Living on my salary alone was doable, but saving would be tough. For now, I planned to dip into the savings I'd secretly amassed for a potential divorce and use it for Cody's college fund. Despite Harold's bluster at home, we had been comfortably living off his income. Losing that would be a significant blow. I could only hope he'd find a new job before the unemployment benefits ran out. However, Harold's determination only lasted a month. Soon, he fell into a routine of staying up late and sleeping in, leading a sloppy life. I was frustrated that Harold used all his unemployment benefits as pocket money without contributing to the household. Watching him play mobile games while sprawled on the couch, as I cooked and cleaned, made my anger nearly boil over multiple times. Hey, maybe it's time to seriously look for a job. You're almost 40. It might become harder to find the job you want after that. When I gently pushed him, Harold angrily retorted,
Shut up! I'm looking on job sites.
"But I've never seen you write a resume."
I'm carefully selecting a company worthy of me.
He declared arrogantly.
I graduated from a top university. Working for a low-grade company would tarnish my reputation. You, coming from a lesser background, wouldn't understand.
Oh, is that so? After countless exchanges like this, with no progress, 10 years passed. As Cody faced college entrance exams and was swamped with studies, even during long vacations, Harold, in his jersey and with a stubble, was still engrossed in his games. I thought about giving up and divorcing him many times. Since his family was wealthy, Harold could live with Isabella without worrying about ending up on the streets. But, feeling it was too harsh to abandon an unemployed husband, I couldn't make that step, and before I knew it, 10 years had flown by. Unable to bear it any longer, I finally decided to use my connections. I pleaded with my uncle to employ Harold. Fortunately, the branch office in the next town was looking for someone in sales, which was perfect.
Hey, how about working at my uncle's company?
One evening, I broached the subject to Harold, excited.
I mentioned your background, and they said it would be a waste not to have you join us.
Of course, it was a complete lie, but Harold, true to my expectations, took the bait due to his pride.
Well, a high-caliber person like me is rare in small and medium enterprises. They must want me at any cost.
He seemed quite pleased with the idea.
So, should I proceed with the discussion?
What to do? After feigning indecision, his eyes were glued to the mobile phone screen I opened.
Oh, this? It's from a new product exhibition. Huh. Looks fun.
He mused nostalgically, whispering,
I might work at your company. Really? That's great. But it's been a while, so I want to start with 3 days a week. And make sure I can leave on time.
I was at a loss for words. Well, as you know, our company has a complete 2-day weekend system, Saturdays and Sundays off. End of month and busy periods require overtime, and special treatment is difficult. Harold's eyes widened in anger.
Listen, I'm working again after a long break. It's like rehabilitation. And you want me to start with long hours? Do you want me, a delicate person, to get sick?
I was infuriated by Harold's words. For the past 10 years, I've balanced housework, child-rearing, and full-time work, supporting you, right? But, not wanting to upset him, I swallowed the complaints that rose to my throat. After consulting with my uncle, Harold was offered a part-time job with lower hourly pay than the market rate, allowing him to finally escape unemployment after 10 years. Harold, who resumed working, quickly became lively. Seeing him clean-shaven and in a suit was moving. Though he had thinned on top and his figure had changed, a bit of his youthful freshness seemed to return. The day when he could work hard as before might be near. Then, I could ask him to contribute to the household expenses again. Relieved, I wondered. It's fine for him to work 3 days, but what about the other 4? On Harold's days off, he was invariably out when I returned from work. He often came home late, smelling of alcohol, possibly frequenting cocktail lounges, but could he afford that on his meager salary? The occasional scent of women's perfume on his clothes was also suspicious. If it were a cocktail lounge, the scents would mix. Yet it was always the same scent. About a year after Harold found a new job, I received a photo and message from an unknown number on my mobile phone. It was a picture of Harold snuggling in bed with a heavily made-up woman. I recognized the woman. She was Natalie, a hostess who had attended a new product launch at my company.
I'm Harold's mistress. Can't wait to live together.
Although I was stunned, I wasn't particularly shocked. My affection for Harold had cooled long ago. So he was cheating after all. I sighed. He must have looked up Natalie from the new product launch photos stored on the company computer and seduced her. As I stared at the image, anger welled up within me. He had the nerve to do this after getting a job through my connections. I called Harold, but the call rang endlessly without answer, and my angry messages remained unread. That night, Harold didn't come home. Moreover, he started skipping work without notice from the next day.
Skipping work for a mistress? What are you thinking? You're going to lose the job you finally got.
I sent that message during my lunch break, but still, there was no reply. Returning home feeling agitated, I noticed the room felt oddly spacious. Looking around, I realized most of the furniture was gone. The Scandinavian sofa set, the wooden table, the two-seater dining table, the stylish shelf, the chic TV board. All purchased with my salary. Shocked, I stood frozen when I noticed a piece of paper on the floor in the center of the room. In round handwriting alongside Harold's, it read,
I'm taking Harold away. I've moved to Natalie's place. Don't bother trying to get me back.
Crumpling the note, I called Harold again. The moment it connected, I was ready to yell.
What's the meaning of this? Where are you? You're so upset. Hilarious.
A nasal, sweet voice, probably Natalie's, responded.
Should I offer you a job? What? If you're okay being a housekeeper, I'll give you the address.
Her presumptuous tone almost made me burst into laughter. Natalie seemed to be under a major misunderstanding.
Then, it's divorce with Harold, who only earns $8 an hour. If you want to talk in your sleep.
Ah, she knows nothing. Poor thing. Suppressing my laughter, I pleaded in a pathetic voice. I'd be in trouble if Harold left me. How will I live? Then Natalie burst out laughing on the other end of the line.
You're just a gold digger for Harold, aren't you? A housewife dumped by her husband, how miserable. It's tough, honestly, but I don't want to complain and make Harold hate me more. Tell Harold to call me once the divorce is ready. Thanks for being so understanding.
By Dot. After hanging up the phone, I clenched my back teeth. Enough with the mockery. Just you watch. I'll knock you from the pinnacle of happiness to the depths of despair. I silently vowed. After confiding in my uncle, I decided to make Harold resign and determined to make them fully realize the consequences of their actions. I hired a private investigator for a conduct investigation and did as much research as I could on Harold and Natalie. 2 weeks later, I sent a message to Harold.
I want to discuss our divorce. Please come to my place with Natalie.
The two of them showed up at the appointed time, hand in hand, smugly smiling as if to flaunt their relationship to me. As I led them into the living room, Natalie sneered.
Wow, haven't bothered to replace the furniture?
You really are broke.
Well, being a gold digger to a big corporation worker like Harold, it's understandable. Excuse me? You stole my furniture and you have the nerve to say that? I could report you to the police, you know.
Oh, please. That sounds terrible.
I just moved the furniture Harold bought himself during the move. Just as Harold said, you're not too bright.
Natalie's disdain was palpable. Turning to Harold, who awkwardly averted his eyes from me. It was clear he was trying to impress Natalie. When the furniture was replaced because it was old, Harold was unemployed, and my salary was all we had. To lie so blatantly when it's bound to be discovered, who's the dumb one here? Muttering curses under my breath, I addressed Harold.
Harold, you feel the same way as I do, right? That is, you want a divorce? Yeah.
Harold nodded, looking displeased.
I'm sick of taking care of a worn-out old woman like you.
He spat out disdainfully.
Meeting Natalie made me realize that everything that hasn't worked out in our 20 years of marriage is all your fault.
I couldn't believe my ears. That's my line.
Being with you has brought my luck down. That's why I'm leaving you to start my life over.
Then, he made a demand.
What? Alimony. You've been a nuisance for 20 years of marriage, haven't you? I'm generous, so I'll let you off with $100,000. Come on, hand it over. You can even give me your bank account, and I'll withdraw it myself.
His haughty tone made me feel not just angry, but somehow sad. He can't live with Natalie on his current salary, so he's begging me for money. High pride, but stooping so low.
All right. It must be expensive to live with 5 people, after all. Really?
Are you sure? His eyes sparkled before he puzzledly asked, 5 people? I smiled and explained to Harold.
Yes, that's right. Natalie and her 3 kids. From the top, they're in junior high, 6th grade, and 5 years old, right? All girls, aren't they?
Natalie's face drained of color. Surprised, Harold glanced back and forth between me and Natalie, showing his confusion.
With kids? I knew about the divorce, but kids are news to me. Natalie, what is she talking about?
Natalie, lips sealed, remained silent, and Harold's eyes widened in shock.
Seriously? No way.
He muttered, disappointed. Harold must have cheated on me, thinking Natalie was divorced with no kids. From the envelope handed to me by the investigator, I took out the report and a stack of photos, choosing those showing Natalie with the kids and spread them on the floor.
Good luck with the challenging ages, Harold,
I said with a touch of sarcasm.
It's highly doubtful you, who declared hating kids and dumped all childcare on me, not even wanting to bond with your own son, will be embraced by someone else's children. No, it'll be fine. Look, they all resemble Natalie and are cute, so I'm sure I'll come to like them.
Harold forced a smile and held Natalie's hand. Natalie, looking up, remained uneasy. Then, the intercom rang with Isabella's voice coming from the other side, causing Harold to start.
Why is Mom coming? I told her we're divorcing because of your affair, and she insisted on being present.
I replied, and Harold grimaced as if swallowing a bitter bug. Opening the door, Isabella barged into the room, pushing past me with heavy footsteps and immediately started yelling at Natalie upon entering the living room.
You home wrecker!
Natalie, eyes wide, quickly put on a smile and tried to charm Isabella.
Isabella, their marriage was already over. So, your term is incorrect. No, it's not. The thief is you and not my daughter-in-law. You stole my precious son from me.
Isabella pointed a finger at Natalie, spitting as she shouted.
The daughter-in-law is plain. The mistress is a thick makeup-wearing mother. Harold has no eye for women.
Harold hung his head as he was scolded.
And now, 3 daughters? Fooled by seduction by such a failure who can't even bear a son. Without me, you fall for the worst women.
Harold lifted his face, weakly protesting. Don't speak ill of Natalie, Mom. It was her previous husband who was no good. If she remarries me, she'll surely bear a boy. Right, Natalie? Yes. Natalie's cheeks twitched as Isabella glared at her venomously.
Trust that? If you're going to remarry the mistress, take Cody with you. Then I'll consider it.
Harold's eyebrows dropped in dismay.
What? I don't want that brat. He's bad at online games and doesn't bond with me at all. Not cute at all.
His selfish remarks infuriated me. After all, he hardly ever played with him from a young age, always shooing him away.
Isabella, it's impossible for me to take Cody.
I interjected, unable to hold back any longer.
Be quiet, you too. He's already 19, living in a university dorm. He's very independent and plans to live on his own after graduation. I won't let you do as you please. It's common sense for a boy to return to his father's family home after a divorce.
Isabella's eyes widened in surprise. That's a piece of common sense I'm hearing for the first time in my life. My frustration with the ever-unreasonable Isabella grew. Harold. After remaining silent for a while, Natalie timidly tugged at Harold's sleeve.
What is it, Natalie?
Seeing Harold's sloppy smile made me angry. If he's your child, I'm sure he would be cute. But having 4 kids? Are we financially okay? To this legitimate concern, Harold confidently replied.
Don't worry, Natalie. As I've told you before, my family is wealthy. Plus, I'm a high-income director at a large corporation. Marrying me means you'll be set for life.
At his words, Natalie's face lit up with joy.
I'm so happy. Then I don't have to work at the cocktail lounge anymore. Being a hostess was getting hard at my age. It's been tough for you. From now on, I'll protect you, so you can rest easy.
Hearing Harold's pretentious statement as he embraced Natalie, I felt nauseous. Doesn't lying so much ever make you feel guilty? I wondered. My guests probably felt the same. Suddenly, the door separating the next room from the living room opened. It might have been slightly earlier than planned, but the timing could not have been better. Seeing the person who suddenly appeared, Harold shouted. Startled, he quickly turned away. The woman who opened the door looked over at the confused Isabella and Natalie and greeted them with a polite smile. Nice to meet you. I'm Serena Tucker, the daughter of the owner of Tucker Industry where Harold worked 10 years ago.
The Tucker Industry?
Natalie and Isabella's eyes widened.
Thank you for your politeness. Oh, isn't that the company where my son is currently employed? Yes, Isabella. Harold, what's wrong?
Harold, who had been brimming with confidence until moments ago, started to tremble slightly. See, everything gets revealed like this. What do you plan to do now? Unable to contain a smile, I covered my mouth with my hand. I thought it was strange. That company not following up on the re-employment of its former employees was unheard of. After revisiting old newspaper articles, I found that most employees were referred to affiliated companies or subcontractors. Then, tracking down a former colleague close to Harold using the address from a Christmas card, I discovered a shocking truth. Harold, you were fired just before the company went bankrupt. Harassing Serena, an intern at the headquarters, and enraging the CEO was the cause. Natalie and Isabella were dumbfounded. Ridiculous, right?
A 20-year-old college girl would never have an affair with a nearly 40-year-old unremarkable assistant manager. Too much confidence can be a bad thing.
With a mocking laugh, Natalie looked at Harold incredulously.
Harold, did you really pester a college girl? What's with that face? It's only natural for a man to pursue young, wealthy women. Got a problem with that?
Natalie and Isabella were shocked at Harold's brazenness.
Wait, assistant manager?
So, Harold, where are you working now?
At my uncle's company. His title is a part-time job at $8 an hour. He'd been unemployed for 10 years, so I got him working again by kicking him in the rear.
I explained the details to Natalie and Isabella with a smile.
I got him the job at my uncle's company through my connections. Despite the rule that he should work every weekday, he insisted on working only 3 days a week, so I had to plead to my uncle.
Isabella let out a strange cry. It seemed she hadn't heard anything from Harold.
Natalie, all the furniture you two took was bought with my salary. When we replaced it, Harold was a mobile phone game addict and unemployed with zero savings. But
Natalie muttered in disbelief.
Harold used to brag about how he was the one providing for his wife. He always complained you weren't grateful enough. The pot calling the kettle black, right?
I glared sharply at Harold, who was cringing uncomfortably, and unleashed the anger I'd been storing up.
While you were unemployed and lazy, I was desperately working, balancing housework and child-rearing. As a woman, that's to be expected. Nothing to brag about.
Harold shouted back defiantly.
And yet you always looked down on me, and even after getting re-employed through my uncle's company, instead of being grateful, you went and got yourself a mistress. How much more do you intend to belittle me? Shut up! A part-time job through connections and you're acting all high and mighty.
And when was that? I laughed contemptuously.
What are you talking about?
Too bad.
I'm now a senior vice president,
I announced cheerfully, and Harold stiffened.
What? Say senior vice president? That's right. Unfortunately for you, I'm earning more now than when you were an assistant manager. Liar! A third-rate university graduate like you couldn't possibly be earning that much.
When I showed him my salary slip, Harold's face twisted in pain before he finally hung his head in defeat. Then, Isabella, seemingly recovered from the shock, wrapped an arm around Harold's shoulders and sneered at me.
Challenging your husband despite being just a daughter-in-law, how impudent. It's because of your attitude that Harold grew tired and sought a mistress.
Tired of even bothering to respond, I ignored her as Isabella comforted Harold with sweet, gentle words.
Harold, leave them and come back to Mom's place. I'll find you a suitable wife. You can have a son with another woman.
Yeah, I'll do that. Harold looked apologetically at Natalie. Sorry, Natalie. Since you don't have Mom's blessing, I have to break up with you. At those words, Natalie's expression turned ferocious. She stood up abruptly, face flushed with rage, and yelled.
I'll be more than happy to. You lying womanizer. I thought marrying a director of a large company might be worth it, but what a mistake.
Grabbing her designer bag, she pulled out her mobile phone, wallet, and makeup pouch, then hurled the bag at Harold.
I wouldn't be with a 15-year-older man otherwise. Thinking you're desirable with your delusional is just gross. Natalie, don't touch me.
Shoving away Harold's grasping hand, Natalie left in a huff. Serena, who had been watching everything, bowed to me and left. Here's the divorce petition. Sign it and submit it to the office. If it's too much trouble, send it back to me in the envelope I included. I handed the divorce petition to a tearful and frozen Harold, then informed Isabella.
We'll go through lawyers for the arrangements for the divorce compensation. The discussion is over, so please take him with you. I was leaving anyway. Harold, let's go back now and come for your things later.
As I saw Isabella and Harold out, I mentioned one more thing.
Oh yes, please also settle the $80,000 debt he's accumulated from our joint account for online gaming. He went back to being jobless, so I'll be sending the bill to you, Isabella. Take care.
Isabella turned back, blinking in disbelief.
What? It's for his online gaming. Since Harold's jobless again, I'll be sending the bill to you. Bye now.
I pushed them out the door, locked it immediately, and breathed a sigh of relief. The next day, Harold sent back the signed divorce papers, which I promptly submitted to the office. To my surprise, the compensation amount I requested was deposited into my account without any complaints from Harold. Isabella must have covered it to get rid of me quickly. The stolen furniture was also returned in good condition, which was a relief. When I demanded compensation from Natalie, the money was soon deposited into my account, and then, to my surprise, Natalie's mother brought her to my house. Encouraged by her mother, Natalie apologized to me with a displeased look. Her mother was also very apologetic. The compensation her mother covered will be paid back by Natalie, who will now have to juggle her cocktail lounge job with another part-time job. It's good that her mother is a sensible person. Afterwards, though I thought Harold would get along with Isabella, their relationship apparently soured. Back to being jobless, Harold showed no signs of seeking employment, immersing himself in online gaming, and spending Isabella's savings and pension. He used to be so cute, but my daughter-in-law turned my son into a fool. If this continues, I'll lose all my savings. I wish he would leave the house. Isabella supposedly complained to neighbors. Finally free from Harold, I've been feeling refreshed and living each day to the fullest. If I knew it would be this liberating, I would have cut ties sooner. When I told Cody about the divorce over the phone, he replied cheerfully,
You finally made up your mind. Congratulations! He's still your dad, so if you ever want to see him, you can. What? I never want to see him again. My family is just you, Mom.
His straightforward response made me laugh.
Now it's time for your second life, Mom. In both work and personal life, you're free to do as you please without being tied down by anyone. Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Encouraged by my son's words, I smiled warmly. Moving forward, Cody and I plan to live happily and make the most of the rest of our lives together.